there and say, I know exactly who I want to hire.
It really could.
But you said it.
Yeah, I don't know who I want or what I want. I don't know. But like I said, if we're hiring for a medical examiner, it's not saying there's somebody with a medical degree. I mean, I don't need to go here asking for somebody with a business degree or.
I can't remember what the wording was in ours.
I started to call in and say something about that.
Because they probably didn't think about it.
Yeah, but
Right. So
Okay.
he's going to address the board at public comment.
those kind of
This is
people.
from Chris Doyle. Everybody listening to you didn't knew you meant you didn't have a preconceived idea about who. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious, is that's Paula Segala in the county chambers?
Now, I don't know where to look. Oh, here.
Oh yeah, it's right at you, baby.
So this looks like a pretty
Actually, you just don't
short
want to be
agenda
behind this
tonight.
thing.
Okay, there's something.
20 minutes top.
You know who needs
These
to
is tell people when they
like the
had
way
it in the
you
middle,
speak.
I'd say, don't sit on that side unless you want to
Yeah.
have everybody
Yeah, I will
watch
be
you.
at
You
the
swing your
close-up.
legs.
I'm gonna try to make it world's shortest meeting.
You know, I don't know if I can because it's correspondence from Cooney.
Oh, it is? Yeah. Well, I'll tell him. This is huge. Like walking
Because he's under the census.
I'm astounded.
he did, and then he resubmitted, but for just instead of actually resubmitted too.
I mean,
You're trying to hear this.
But no, what I'm saying.
You know, that was a neat trick that he showed us, how to grab that thing. A lot of work. Oh, it made us look like geniuses. We've got 2 or 3 minutes, folks, and then I'll call the meeting to order.
You guys kind of have a job prosecuting something or something.
So what he's done is
Oh, Lord. Government?
I think it's the parking.
Government. Boards.
Past these.
Board of Commissioners. I'm going to go with Board of Commissioners. I'm guessing here. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, but, okay.
Meetings, agenda and minutes.
All right, wait.
Special-
Government?
Yeah.
I looked at,
View most recent agenda, view agendas and minutes.
okay, wait. What's in commission?
Plug it in.
View most recent agendas and minutes. And that must be, I'm going to try
Board
it.
of Commissioners.
I'm going to try it. Looking for the packet on the new website here.
That's supposed to be, the new website isn't out until tomorrow.
Oh, yes,
so
yes,
excited
that's
about the
where
new
it takes
website.
us.
No, your packet's not going to be.
It's going to be nice.
That's what we're looking for and why we can't find it. Thank you.
Do you have the email?
It's like the worst website in the history of companies. This is
How do
gonna
you
be
get
so
to the
nice.
old website?
If we had a good website, they wouldn't have to FOIA us all the
No,
time.
'cause
there
I
would be
hit-
links to all the information.
I hit it and it brings up the new one. Yes.
It's not supposed to switch till midnight.
I'm sorry, but it switched.
IT is fast. Bam, it's over.
Best laid plans.
You see my,
From the email.
my page,
I'll download it from the email.
my website, County Clerk, you gotta navigate through that. Mine's
I'm
blocked.
looking.
Is it?
When did we get that?
Back to your
Proud of it,
email.
aren't you?
I downloaded it before the
Proud of it, except for the.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm
I got links to so many things, I got so much info out there.
I wanted it.
Very cool. Okay,
I'm-
ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this Wednesday, August 19th,
From the regular
2015 Ways and Means Committee to order.
to the new
And we'll start
website.
by saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then roll call is next, and we have the real Bonnie here to do it.
Versus the fake one. Max Bauer,
Here.
Kropa,
Here.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Klaus,
Here.
Crawford,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Lathrop.
Yes. Okay. Are there any changes to the July 15th minutes? Okay, they'll stand as read. Now we have a time for first public comment, and that stars Bonnie again.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Okay, at this time, is there anyone who wishes to make public comment? Yes, sir.
Bob Cooney, Grand Traverse County Prosecuting Attorney. I'm here tonight to address the ATS lease proposal that's on your agenda. And, I want to start out by saying I'm a big supporter of community corrections, and Sharice Shively in particular does an outstanding job for the county. And I'm sure there are a lot of merits to this proposal. At the same time, this kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't aware of it until Monday, actually. But I'm concerned about a lot of things, including just the practicality of it. My employees, my 15 employees, all park right outside the work release building every morning. I think that there are this campus is very limited as far as parking goes. When we have jury pick days and we bring in 40 or 45 members of the public to serve on for jury duty, it creates real problems there. And I think we have to be very careful about how we use the Boardman campus in general. I know that when John Syke, our planning director, rolled out his master plan, it didn't include this proposal, and I think this is, even though it's a small building in the big scheme of things, it's still right here on the Boardman campus, and I'm not sure that it makes practical sense. I'm also, I also share some of the safety concerns that our undersheriff has expressed about the idea. I'm also concerned about why a for-profit business would be getting this property for free rather than paying for it. Apparently they get some state money for the program, and I don't quite understand that. And part of it is probably because I haven't really been given any details about the program. I did try to contact Sharice earlier today, but according to her voicemail anyway, she was going to be out of town until Tuesday. So I would have liked to have talked to her first about the details. I'm also concerned about liability. What if an inmate is, or a work release person is injured? We've had incidents in our own jail with the type of training and security that the corrections officers have. And so that would be a concern of mine as well. I'm also concerned that there is no proposed agreement attached to this information in the packet. And I think it would be very important to look at any proposal and how that's laid out. In speaking to Under Sheriff Elger this morning about the proposal, we both had concerns about whether this would really increase bed space or not, and I don't think that that's been adequately evaluated. So anyway, I am very anxious to hear what ATS has to say about the proposal, and I'll be watching from home tonight. And I hope that you will reserve your decision on this until all of the parties affected by it have had an adequate opportunity to evaluate the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment? Please don't be shy. Come on up.
Ernest Kachaya, GIS Director for the county. I'm here just as to allow the board to have a first glance at an initiative that GIS has undertaken. As a bit of history, in the past we've tried to get orthoimagery every 5 years. We're actually 6 years since our most recent one, but one of our biggest benefactors, the Grand Traverse Band, was kind enough to give us some funding for LiDAR data, and I didn't want to go back to them right away to do this. So I thought I'd take up the initiative of attempting to have a consortium of townships and some of the larger agencies, county agencies, come together and fund this. So if I could go through briefly, so in the future I'll be probably presenting some resolutions regarding this, but I wanted you to kind of come up to speed on what I'm attempting to do here. If you look at this spreadsheet, starting in the upper left, what we're looking for is 6-inch orthoimagery. The cost is about $34,000. This is pretty much the cost 6 years ago. The vendors that we've been talking to are holding to that cost, so I'm using that as a basis. I've got 3 what I call big players who are contributing to this, and they'll be contributing to the extent of 50% of this. So they are GIS. We have some funds available for that. The Road Commission is contributing a portion of that 50%, and where the Register of Deeds is also contributing to, so that comes up, that 50% is $17,303. The remaining $17,303 we're spreading across the units in Grand Traverse County. And when I started this, I thought that there would be some units who might not be interested in going forward with this. There's generally there's 2 reasons for that. The large units like Mayfield and Grant, and when I say large, I'm talking about square miles, really don't have the funding for this to pay their fair share based on their square footage or their square miles. On the other hand, the smaller units like Garfield and Traverse City are funded, based on their tax base, can more afford this, but they don't feel it's fair because they generally don't have the area. What I did in order to kind of equate that or equalize that for them is I blended those 2 things 50-50 and came up with a formula, and the share is in the bold there in the green area of the funding, and to my delight, actually, I was going to say surprise, but to my delight, we've had all the units participate in this. I think this is excellent. I'm delighted again by seeing this. So I'm going to move forward with this. Had a number of them backed out, and we would have had to spread that cost across some of the other townships. I think the whole thing may have fallen apart. But since everybody's participating, it's wonderful, and I think we're going to move forward with this plan. So again, this is only an informative piece of information that I have for you, and I'll be talking to you later about resolutions involving this. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Okay, then we'll take.
You forgot.
Nate. Nate.
I'll go there. My apologies.
It's county employee public comment.
Under Sheriff Nate Alger with the Sheriff's Department. I became aware of the ATS request Monday in a conversation with the sheriff prior to him leaving for vacation, and I know that he provided you some information directly. He also kind of gave us some marching orders in this discussion as well. My primary concern, I did have an opportunity yesterday to talk to Sharice, and I'm very grateful for her taking my phone call. She answered many of my questions and concerns, but the main issue for us is security of the facility. The Boardman campus is not a secured facility. It's not a lockdown facility, but there is a heightened sense of security around the jail for obvious reasons. Our corrections officers take a lot of efforts to minimize the introduction of contraband into the jail. That's a legitimate concern on our part. To add up to 12 residents in that area that could be in and out of the building and interacting with our inmate trustees or depositing contraband in an area that they could pick it up and introducing that into the jail concerns us greatly. So we would need to consider what security measures we're going to have to implement to combat the possible increase. That may be a minimal effort. It could be something that's quite taxing. But I do believe that we should have had this discussion ahead of this being in front of this board. We abandoned the work facility. It's not our building any longer. We understand that. But it is something that's going to impact our operation. So I would also express a desire for you to take a moment of pause in considering the request and maybe allowing us to wrap back around with community corrections and ATS and all players involved so that they can completely understand what is going to be needed to make sure we have a smooth transition. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm going to look. I didn't look that corner. Okay. All right, then we come next to the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion for that?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
And is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. It says consent calendar, but there's nothing there, right?
There's nothing
So
there?
we just skip it. Wow.
Moving right along.
Special orders of business, and we have our very special Steve Peacock come to talk to us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Steve Peacock. I am the audit partner that was conducting the audit for the county as for December 31st, 14. We also talked about engaging our firm for a financial analysis of the county, and I'm here to give you a progress report on that. Dean and I have shared a number of emails. We've met in person in terms of how we reached the goal for all of the 3 major milestones that were laid out to me with respect to the project. The first being a June 30th statement of net position, and the second being a 3-year forecast, taking into account certain scenarios and assumptions with respect to how it may impact your budget. And the third item was to get our hands around what the Boardman River restoration project is going to possibly impact the county. I'll just summarize the first one with the balance sheet for 6/30/15. Dean, when your records are ready for June 30th, we can do that in pretty short order. That's not going to take a whole lot of time. With respect to the 3-year projection, Dean and I talked about a software program that is used by the county. It's endorsed by the GFOA. It's called MuniCast. It has many, many years of historical information used by the county. It also has the ability to produce projections going forward under a number of different scenarios. So rather than recreating the wheel with us, I thought I would use that at least as a starting point with respect to creating these projections. With that, there is some data that Dean is going to load. He has to load the final 2014 financial information from the audit. He has to prepare the 2015 budget within it, or put the amended amounts that are in there at this point. And then we have a starting point where we can get going with the 3-year projection. Part and parcel of that 3-year projection is going to be an updated MERS summary of the MERS liability. And Dean and I talked. Dean has put a request into MERS to create a new valuation report, if you will, under it's a 13-year amortization period, whereby that would amortize this unfunded liability over 13 years. Okay? That is still on task for the first part of September. Is that correct, Dean?
Yes, we're expecting that on September 4th or before then.
Okay. So that is a key figure in this projection to see what these numbers are going to come back from MIPSers or from MERS in terms of being able to put those into the budget to see how we have to possibly make changes elsewhere. So that's key number 1. Element number 2 would be the OPEB liabilities. If you recall, when we discussed this a month or so ago, the OPEB liabilities that are in your balance sheet, or at least in the disclosures at this point, are for a study that was concluded in 2012. Mm-hmm. Dean has commissioned a 15 study on those OPEBs, And I really, I believe that that is a critical piece of information to get into this projection, because if I'm going to bet anyway, I'm going to bet those numbers have gone up. And Dean, is the status still on that sometime mid-September for that?
Yeah, we're looking at mid-September, but I'm expecting to have that sooner than that.
Okay. So the big chunk of the work that's going to happen for these projections are when these two items come in, that we can actually forecast meaningful numbers in terms of going forward for funding those liabilities. With respect to the Boardman Dam restoration, we had a lengthy talk about that, and there's a big range of exposure to the county. I mean, it can be very small, and it can be very, very large. And in discussions with Dean, it looks like October of 15 is our target to get information to see who is going to partner with the county with respect to other granting agencies or other local units of government. I think that is a high priority within the board to have somebody take that bull by the horns and get that issue resolved in October, so we can give you a better range of what that exposure looks like to the county.
Steve, just so you know, I've met with Mayor Estes twice within the last week regarding this very subject. And I talked to Dean very briefly about it this afternoon. And one of the things that I want to look at from the county's perspective is what is the minimum that is required. We do not have to restore that river. We do have to remove the dam.
Correct.
And so and Dean is going to talk tomorrow, I believe he told me, at the IT meeting about this very subject. And I want you to know that I'm working in the background to get some real numbers.
And that's important, because that could be a substantial.
It's important to everyone. It's not only important to you, and it's not only important to the county board. It's important to anyone who is considering grant funding.
Correct.
You know, telling someone, well, we really don't know how much it costs, it doesn't, you know, encourage people to write a check.
Exactly.
But if you say, we need $3 million and we're going to, the only thing we're going to do is remove the dam, that might inspire people to say, well, you know what? And we tell people, okay, the river restoration is an additional $2 or $3 million. Right. People that want that river restored, that might encourage some grant opportunities. Correct. We're looking at different ways to approach this than what has been done in the past.
And that's fantastic.
And I'm going as quickly as I can.
I think that will probably be the Boardman Dam and the restoration will probably be the last element of the financial analysis in terms of getting the range a little bit closer. But items 1 and 2, as soon as these OPEB liabilities and MIPSers or MERS gets the numbers back to us, then we should be in a pretty quick mode to be able to start running through some scenario analysis. And then Dean and I will collaborate in terms of what makes sense, collaborate with the board and the committee that I've been charged to work with on scenarios, and we can present a plethora of options. That's the end objective of mine, is to present a series of opportunities as well as other things that may be able to happen to the plan, that you can make modifications, and working with MERS with respect to the plans.
The next opportunity for us to meet is going to be in 2 weeks. Okay. So, but we are pushing pretty hard behind the scenes.
Okay, very good. That's good to hear.
Any other questions for Steve? I've asked Steve to come and report to us once a month at this meeting, so we can keep our eye on the ball about our very serious financial. This should be in front of us every month. So he's agreed kindly to do that, and he'll be our independent financial person reporting just to us. So I'm very happy that he's going to do that.
Yep, without a problem at all. Very happy to do so. Thank you, everybody. Any other questions before I take off? Okay, thanks.
Okay, then next we have Greg Bird on the storm update.
Greg Bird, Grand Traverse County Emergency Management Coordinator. Good evening. No pictures tonight. I'll keep it brief. We continue to recover from the storm, and debris removal and collection continues. From last week, the state has contracted with our local firm, Elmer's, for debris processing and removal, and that operation ran full bore all weekend and the beginning of this week out at the Skegamog site. They had an equipment breakdown, but it was back in operation by this morning. So it's a pretty impressive operation. I have pictures if anybody wants them offline, or if you want to take a stop by there and see that. And it will be moving to our other debris sites as well. We have, as of today, we have 3 fully functioning Department of Corrections 7-man chainsaw crews. We also acquired chippers, one's from the National Guard and a couple from other local agencies in the area, Wexford County and Mackinac City, and some DNR equipment, and they're working independently and working in our public areas, our parks and trails mainly, where we have severe public safety hazards. We also have a DNR excavator that's being dispatched with them, and we're coordinating that through the state and our logistics people to make sure we have priorities on where the most hazards are and dangers, and we're removing them as rapidly as we can. There's also 3 contracted tree companies working with the city crews, working overtime, rapidly picking up the debris from the public right-of-ways. We had a little issue last night with some ponding and flooding in city streets and intersections where that debris is clogging up drains, but nothing serious. So they're continuing to work. I believe they've made it to Union, working their way west. So they're doing a pretty good job with that. We have identified a debris drop-off location and this coming Saturday and Sunday event for Peninsula Township residents. That's been an ongoing situation, and working with DNR, Susie Shipman championed that and took care of that. So we'll be running that Saturday and Sunday. Information's available out on public information channels. So that should handle Peninsula Township. The other sites continue to run at Rasho Road and Skegamog with some adjusted hours. Try and give our people some break, and there's been, the beginning of the week there was a decrease in people coming in the morning, but now we've seen to have an upswing again. So we're trying to find a good balance there, and also, have them open appropriate times to serve the most people we can.
Greg, I'm going to interrupt you just for a moment. It should be noted that the county stepped up for that service for Peninsula Township, Dr. Lathrop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the county we're providing, and we have DNR provided a location at Bowers Harbor. It's a overflow parking lot.
Yes.
And Susie Shipman is going to be running that, and we're going to allocate 1 6-man DNR crew with a National Guard chipper with a DNR excavator and dump truck to operate that out there.
So the Peninsula did not do that? It was the...
No.
Okay.
So we put that together as for the citizens out there. American Red Cross personnel and Salvation Army, our local chapters are currently working for us, actively working. Salvation Army's done an amazing job of feeding our VOAD groups, and also the DOC work crews and anyone else that has needed fed in the county for worker-wise, and taking care of our debris drop sites, of stocking coolers and making sure it's taken care of. Red Cross is going door to door for us with flyers advertising the debris site, and they're going to be doing that again, advertising our Code Red system, because still to this day I'm talking to people that don't know. They're asking where the sirens are, and they don't know our system. So Red Cross has offered to do that, and they're going to take over processing our volunteers, because we have volunteers that are coming, and we have to make sure backgrounds and give them IDs and credentials, and so they're going to do that part for us. So those 2 organizations are very active with this disaster. Team Rubicon, the VOAD group that was here working for private citizens, vets, people that couldn't afford or have the means to remove debris. They did 71 site assessments in 2 weeks. They have 44 work orders. By yesterday, they had completed 27, and they'll finish the rest of them by Friday, and they have an urgent need to demobilize because they don't have any more team members eligible to run that team volunteer cycles. They are urgently telling us, and we're urgently telling the state, there is a need for more of those groups, and we're trying to work for the state to identify some more of those nonprofit volunteer groups to come in and work with our citizens. We haven't identified them yet, but we're still working on that. The estimated damage adjusted, Jim Bakers did a great job of trying to get it as accurate as possible to fit the preliminary damage. For our county, it's $15.2 million. There's 9 affected counties from that storm on the 2nd, with total estimated damages reported at $39 million. So we continue to work with the state and recover from this. And with that, unless you have any questions.
Could you just pass along to everybody involved the appreciation from the board, and I don't want to speak for the board, but from us and everybody else that, you know, we greatly appreciate all the work that's been done and will continue to be done. So.
At some point, I've been attending the meetings, in the emergency manager meetings in the mornings. Commissioner Kropa is going to take my place tomorrow morning, as I am going to be out of town, and Dr. Lathrop is also going to be out of town. And we're going to have many thank you cards that we're going to be writing. Many thank you cards. Salvation Army's just done a phenomenal job. Red Cross. I can go on and on.
Yeah, I have a list of agencies and personnel that I feel is fairly accurate, and I have an idea to go along with that I'll work with Dean and you for that as when we come out of this. But the team we had, the team for this county that we put together since I've been here is amazing and continue to perform amazing. And coming out of this, we'll have a blueprint going forward of how to make that even better. So,
Pretty cool.
Thank
you, Greg, very much. Okay, nothing from the consent calendar, department action items. Health Department is next. Who's here to represent the Health Department?
I'm Marissa Miller, and I'm the Finance Director for the Health Department. And I'm here today. We're requesting to solicit bids to purchase an environmental health vehicle. I kind of did a financial analysis of the first 10 months and then projections for August and September, and it looks like we will have some excess grant funds available. So we'd like to purchase a truck for environmental health and then move to replace one of the older trucks, and then move that truck over to the community health fleet vehicles.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the Health Department to solicit bids for a new truck for the Environmental Health Department.
Is there a second?
Support.
Okay, any discussion?
What age is the vehicle that you're going to transfer over, do you know?
It's 2005.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any more discussion? All those go ahead.
The money has been identified within their budget, correct? And you and
Yeah,
Dean, I'm sure
we've done
cleared
this
that.
before. What we're trying to do here is avoid turning state grant funds back over to the state, and because of the fee revenue that the program has generated, we're in jeopardy of doing that. We've done this in the past. It makes really good sense to do this because we want to retain as much of the state grant money as possible. And the expenditure for the vehicle helps us do that, and, you know, it helps us replace a vehicle as well. So I am also asking for your authorization to go out for bids for the vehicle.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Then next, Dean, it's starring Dean, right? Finance Administration.
I think we have, the first item, though, is the, I don't know if Chris or Sarah wants to.
I think they're tag teaming it.
Well, tag
I mean, I can jump in, but they're going to do a better job with this than I ever would, so I'm handing off to you.
Chris and the fake Bonnie.
Thank you.
We're Chris and Sarah. The one thing that we wanted to present to you is on some new software, and it's to keep track of our boards and committees. Boards and committees meaning all of the ones, the Commission on Aging, the Parks and Rec, all of the committees that you are responsible for making appointments to. We've got about 25 of those boards, as it says here, and probably at any given time, 150 people that we appoint. We find out when they resign. We find out when they've, in cases, passed away. We find out when they've just quit or moved. But all of this takes a tremendous amount of cooperation between the staffing people and Sarah and myself. We both keep track of it, and somehow we get it all done, but there's a better way. And we've been looking at a couple different types of software the past several months that for doing a lot of our repetitive type things that we do. But the boards and software one is one that's fairly new the last couple of years. And there's a couple of extremely good programs out there. We did look at a couple of them, and the one that we are kind of hoping that you will give us the opportunity to try is with Excella. And they showed us a program that is a subscription-based program. It's all done in the web. It's something that we will be able to build to our recommendations or our specifications. The setups of each board is very specific. It identifies the board. It identifies what their mission is, and if any of their positions are very specific in the requirements, we can do all that. And I've given you a lot of information that explains that, so if you have any questions, let us know. The reason that we're coming now is I think we kind of looked at this for possibly next year, and we were going to present it in our budget requests, but we've been given the opportunity by Excella to start that process right now, and this is when we start contacting all our people whose terms will be ending at the end of the year. We, ask for people that are they interested in being reappointed. We also contact or start advertising for fulfilling any of the new positions, and you're going to have to, be setting up. Elisa had mentioned this last week. There's a lot of vacancies that'll come up at the end of the year. There are every year. So we'll be setting up different ad hoc committees, and this will help us set this up in our process this year. And we won't actually start paying with it. We would not actually start the agreement, the subscription agreement until the 1st of December. So we would get the opportunity to kind of try it out for the next 3 months while we're working with all these records anyway, and we'd be ready to go next year. So this is, and I have talked to Chris about it. He kind of had one little question about their insurance that we're going to get some information for. I also talked to Don Sheehan, and he's real excited about it, but we're going to make sure that this all fits with the new website, and we're not going to have any issues. So we just kind of like a blessing to go ahead.
I don't have anything to add. She covered it.
Does this require, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I've been talking to Chris about this and support the idea completely. This is all part of making our county more user-friendly for the citizens that own it. They'll be able to easily access information about boards. As we know, we're one of the counties in the state of Michigan with the highest number of citizen-driven boards, and it is a lot to organize. And as chair of RMNA, my part in it, I would like Chris to be able to get information quickly when I ask her, but it's not always that easy. So in sticking with the Board of Commissioners' idea about improving technology and efficiency in the county, as well as the user-friendly portion of this for the citizens, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve to proceed immediately with formal subscription agreement with Excella.
Correct.
Excella to commence December 1st, 2015 at a cost of $590 a month.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I noticed in there you said that in 3 or 4 months you'll recoup this.
Yes, we did an actual return on investment, and that was just an estimate of my time alone, without the clerk's time, without the time spent by each
So
one
that's
of
almost
the
full time then for. I know.
So see all those
Bonnie, I
things,
should
see
shut
how
up
much more I'll be able to do for you that much quicker?
That was the second part I was going to add. And just think of when I ask you to do things, now you'll be like, I've got it done right now.
And as far as, we don't have to do any bids or anything, I know you said you searched online and found nothing
We did
comparable.
look at another, there's really only 2 companies there's a lot of companies that provide board information. As far as putting together your agendas, putting together, they're really doing that a lot. In fact, that's one of the other things we're looking at, but we've just realized that with this new, the new website information or the new website we're going with, they have an actual
The new website
agenda.
Has the capabilities of actually creating an agenda within the website, so it would auto-populate everything for us. We could have default items in that, so we don't want to use another program or purchase another program if we already have that capability with it. So these are different modules, and this is really the only module that we need right now.
And the
So we
yearly
are gonna-
contractual obligation is less than the purchasing
less than
amount
the-
anyways.
Yeah,
so.
we're going to check out the one on the website yet, because we just found out in the last couple of weeks that that was even available to us.
I mean, I do know that one of the townships I represent, had an issue recently with trying to identify when people would come on, when they're due off, and that's a small one, so I can imagine with 25 boards.
I have a binder, a drawer full of folders, and 2 spreadsheets. And that's just me, that's not what she keeps track of.
Yes, sir.
And we keep track of the
Yeah,
same.
over the years, we've multiple times discovered that all of a sudden, well, so-and-so moved out of the county, so we only have, we have 2 openings on this board, or we have 1 opening on this board, and, in order to keep our boards efficient, we need to make sure that we're putting people on there that are interested in being there. One of the problems we ran into a few years ago was absenteeism. We had a number of people that were appointed to boards that showed up at 1 meeting or 2 meetings during the year. Well, maybe we needed to look and see whether or not we had other people that were available. The other piece of that is we made a decision, at one point that we wanted to interview not only the people that were currently sitting on boards, but people who might be interested in sitting on those boards, not just automatically roll those people back over annually. And, trying to track that, and when, these are 3-year terms, and this one's in 2015, that one's in 2016, this one expired in 2014. It's an amazing thing. I don't know how Chris keeps track of it at all, but so far she's done a fairly good job.
We do it together. Team effort.
It's just so many people and so many, and they're not boards that we necessarily always are hands-on with on a monthly or even a quarterly basis.
Max Bauer.
It's a trial. It can be canceled within 30 days, and so give it a whirl.
Commissioner Crawford.
Does this give you the would using this make the lists of people on these boards and their information available on the website so that the community also will know who's on these boards? Because sometimes I say, well, contact somebody, there's a board for that, there's a commission for that, contact somebody, and who knows who they are and they're...
More of a central location
Okay,
to
good.
find this kind of information.
Good, okay.
And the one nice thing that is great, as Sunny said, we don't always have like firsthand information. Sharice is sitting here and she's a perfect example. She knows all the people on the Community Corrections Board. She sees them once a month or once every couple months, and she has direct interaction with them on a regular basis. We see them once, every couple years. We make their appointments, we talk to them, and then we don't really hear from them again. So if someone moves or if someone, changes their address, we don't always know that when we need to go back and contact them again for reappointment. This would allow each one of the individual user departments to have access to those records as well. So anytime there is an update and an address, we would all have the same information, right then and there. Everything's updated. So that would be really nice. Really nice.
With community corrections, the sheriffs, the prosecutors, the judges, they all rotate too. So it's like, okay, this year, Tom Bensley's there. Next year it's going to be, the sheriff from Leelanau or Antrim, and so we don't always keep track of that, but the software should take care of all of that rotation too.
Any other discussion? Motion second, discussion. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll report back on the success.
This is a great example of our great county employees. We've had several tonight, and these two really shine right now, so thank you so much. Okay, the next one is the work release facility, another shining employee.
Fun.
Yes.
I'm Sheree Shively, I'm the manager of Community Corrections. I wanted to give you a little history about the whole thing, explain to you what the program is that we're trying to do, and address most of the concerns that I've heard. And I will start out by saying that their safety concerns are valid, and I don't argue with them at all about any of that, so we're on the same page with that. What this program is, it is called PRS. It stands for Probation Residential Services. It is a DOC-funded program. Community Corrections is a DOC program. We are just housed within each county that we service. So all of our programs are funded through DOC, and this is just one more of them. We have PRS services felons in our 3 counties, Grand Traverse, Antrim, and Leelanau. And what it is residential, substance abuse residential treatment, and it's a funding source for them. An individual may need substance abuse treatment. What we do in Community Corrections is our first option is they make a phone call to a place called NMRI. It's Northern Michigan Regional Entity, and they are the gatekeepers for Medicaid and block grant funding for substance abuse treatment. If an individual does not qualify for that, then we can place them into this PRS funding through the state of Michigan. So it is the funding of last resort. For example, Medicaid pays $215 a day for an individual to be in residential treatment. PRS through the state pays $48.50. It is a very big difference. That's why it's our last option. And we send folks throughout the state to these locations. The locations that have the contract are with Department of Corrections. It's not a contract with Grand Traverse County Community Corrections. It's with DOC. So they have already had to meet all of the requirements that DOC sets out for them and the standards that they have. They have to be, the facilities have to be inspected by DOC, and they have to meet their qualifications to be able to do that. We typically send folks to several places. We send them here to Traverse City through ATS. We send them to Harbor Hall in Alpena. We send them up into the Sault Ste. Marie, Great Lakes is in Sault Ste. Marie, and we send them to Petoskey. We also send them down to Grand Rapids. So I have a staff member that needs to take one person, and we have to take the same-sex client. So we have a staff person gone all day because it's a 3-hour trip to, say, Sault Ste. Marie or Alpena, or a 3-hour or 4-hour trip down in downstate, and transporting that person to treatment. And that's fine. We do that whether they're funded through Medicaid or whether they're funded through PRS. We used to, about probably 7 or 8 years ago, or even less, almost all of our PRS clients were sent to ATS right here in Traverse City. So we didn't have to transport these people all over the state. ATS was in a very financial dire straits at that point. Most of the clients that they were taking were our PRS clients, being paid $48.50 a day. They hired a new director, which he is here this evening, Chris Hinbaugh, and they have just completely changed everything that they do, and they are now fiscally stable and sound. At the time when he came on board, they had to stop taking almost all of our PRS clients. We probably had 15 people there on any given day, and we now have 1 to 2 on any given day. So we had to start farming them out all these locations. When this happened, it was always the intention of ATS to be able to start providing that service to us again, but they had to do it in a manner that was fiscally responsible for them, or they were going to face the same problems that they had in the past. They were going to go under. And that is kind of what they have worked towards. The problem is that it pays $48.50 a day, and so you have to find a facility in this area where that is even financially doable here. They approached me. We have bantered about this back and forth in our Community Corrections Board meetings. Oh, maybe we could use the work release facility. I haven't really done anything about it because I can't provide that service. It's not something Community Corrections can do. I'm not a residential service provider. So unless somebody else wanted to step up to the plate and actually say, hey, I think we can do this, that point was moot. It wasn't even ever really a thought in my mind. About 2 or 3 months ago, Chris did contact me and say, we are finally at a point where we might be able to do this. He had been on a tour of the work release facility when the district court was thinking of turning that into a drug testing location. So he was familiar with what it had, what the everything that was inside of that. And he'd already done a site visit with the facilities, and so he knew about that. And he said, do you think that's something that we could do? And I said, we can try. Why not ask? At that point, I knew that the facility had already been turned back to the county. It wasn't being managed at all by the jail. So I, with the lack of a county administrator, I contacted Dean. And I said, what do you think about this? And he kind of took it from there and looked into it some more. He contacted he can tell you what he did. And so it just kind of grew from that point. I will say that my neglect in all of this was not contacting the Sheriff's Department. I didn't contact the Sheriff's Department because it wasn't their facility anymore. I will tell you that at the time my concern was not along the lines of the safety issue, because the folks that we're going to be placing there are already folks that are already out on work release from the jail. They have to be eligible for work release to even be eligible for community corrections. They're already the inmates that are the inmate workers. So they're already out on the grounds. They're not an extra population of people. They have to already be eligible for those programs in order to be eligible for us. So it's the same population. So I will be honest, it just wasn't it was not on my radar as far as that being a concern. I knew there would be safety concern issues, but ATS already deals with that with the folks that we already send them. They already have a protocol in place for all of those things. And so that's kind of how this all came to be. But what I want you to understand is we farm these people out all over the state. This is an ability to bring a lot of them back local. And it is only for males. It's not for females because it's just 12 people, so we're not going to put them together. That would be a bad idea. And there's been some significant changes with community corrections in the last year. I came before you not so long ago and explained all of that. I met with Chairman Lathrop and explained to him in depth, especially all our changes. Sonny knows about them from being on the board. They have changed completely everything that we do. There are 3 community corrections departments in the state of Michigan who were not funded this year. There are 7 of them who lost half of their programming. I knew all that was coming, and that's why I had to make some of those changes that I came before you. So we were fully recommended for full funding for this year. That's very good news. One of the changes that they have made is with this PRS funding, it is only eligible for sentenced felons to local jail. So it's only eligible for our local people. With these new changes, effective October 1st, they are opening up to parolees. And so a parolee who is in need of substance abuse treatment that does not get funding from Medicaid, just like our folks didn't get funded, can also use these funds. So right now, I have an individual in the jail, and they may wait right now up to 2 to 3 weeks to get into a facility. There's always a wait because they're taking those higher pay clients first. So that's why we go the route of Medicaid and all of that first. So our PRS clients are always the last folks that are able to get a bed. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 weeks for us to get a bed. In our high use times, we've waited up to 6 weeks for somebody to get a bed. So they're sitting in jail, eligible for community corrections, and just sitting there because I have nowhere to put them. What happens after October 1st is now those beds are even less, because now parolees are going to be eligible to use that exact same funding and those exact same beds. There is one of our facilities that is at risk of losing their licensure, and it is a very significant possibility after October 1st. That will be one whole entire place that I cannot no longer send folks. So this is proactive to try and not face all of those problems that I know were going to come. I know I have a 2 to 3 week rate right now, and I will face 6 weeks, 7 weeks if we are putting all the parolees into the same location. This facility is capable of taking our community corrections clients and our parolees. They are our local people who are already in our communities, and they need substance abuse treatment, and this is going to provide that for them. They are not folks coming from prison looking for a place to live. to just come straight into this facility. That is absolutely not even an option. It's somebody who's already here, maybe they've been out of prison for a year or two, and they have substance abuse needs. Their parole agent can also recommend them to be able to come into that facility. So those are the clientele that we would be placing in it. I will address one concern that was brought up, and it's been brought up a couple times, about parking. Very few of our clients have licenses, so that's really, as far as the client's issue, is very low. But they will be told that if they do have a vehicle and they want to park, they will have to get a parking pass to the parking garage. The staff of ATS are going to be paid to have a parking pass at the parking garage. They know that they're not allowed to park in any of the parking, because we are, as an employee, I never can find a parking spot. So that was one of my personal concerns, was are we going to be fighting for even more of those spaces? The safety concerns, I've already talked to Todd, and I've already talked to the undersheriff. Will be working with them to address those issues, because I agree that they're valid. They're completely valid. But I don't think that there are any issues that would prevent it from being a possibility to use this facility, because like I told you, they're already the folks that are already on work release, leaving and coming from the jail, already on the work or leaving and coming from the jail. So it's not an additional population that we're going to be dealing with.
Commissioner.
I'm open to this. I would like to see you sit down, however, with our county prosecutor and address some of the issues that he suggested need to be addressed. I don't know enough about this. I mean, I'm hearing your proposal. I'm certainly not going to agree to this tonight.
And I understand that.
But I'm open to it. But I want to have the opportunity to speak with the undersheriff and the sheriff, and certainly Captain Ritter, and the prosecutor, and have an opportunity to talk to you some more. I'm not going to slam the door and say absolutely not right now. I want some more information, and I would like to give you an opportunity to address some of the issues that the prosecutor brought up.
And I agree with that. Like I said, I hadn't thought about the whole implications with the safety issues of it, so I completely agree with that.
Doctor?
Yeah, I mean, when I just saw this half a page summary on it, I was kind of surprised at what information was lacking in it. Because I had questions even before Undersheriff and Mr. Cooney discussed, or talked anyway. Is ATS a for-profit company?
They are not. They're a nonprofit.
Okay.
They are not a for-profit facility.
Because I would have severe issues with the for-profit company.
No, and they will barely break even just paying this is truly a service to us. It's not something that's going to be a benefit to them. It is a service to us because, like I said, over the last several years, we've been working towards going back to what we used to do.
I mean, I agree with Commissioner Maxbauer that I think there needs to be some more work done on the front end of this.
Commissioner Crawford.
So I have a couple questions here. Is this more the program that would take place in the building? Is it more a work release program or more a residential, like a drug treatment center?
It's a drug treatment center. It's not a work release facility.
Okay.
They are required to gain employment while they're there.
Okay.
But it is not they have to get 6 to 12 hours per week of substance abuse or cognitive treatment while they're there.
Okay. And are these people who are currently sentenced to jail and in treatment, or are they, you also mentioned parolees, so are they also people who have been released from jail but still need treatment? So you're actually mixing people who are sentenced and in jail with people who are now out of jail. Is that correct?
We're already mixing them anyway.
We are. Okay.
Wherever they're being sent into community, if you needed substance abuse treatment and you were in Alpena at treatment, and I put a female over there through my funding, it's
already okay.
It's already mixed anyway. There's people, when we put people into treatment, everyone is coming from very different locations in their life.
Okay.
So they're already mixed.
I'm just trying to get a
Yeah.
feel of
Yeah.
exactly who
But
is
our
in there.
community corrections clients are sentenced to jail.
Okay.
The felons have to serve half of their sentence before they're eligible to be released onto our program.
Okay.
They have to have good behavior in the jail. If they have behavior issues or tickets or anything like that, tickets or, problems that they have in the jail, they're not eligible for community corrections, or we delay them.
Okay.
This is a privilege to be on community corrections. It is not a right. And they have to be able to behave in jail in order to qualify for our program, too.
And just one more, how long is the average stay in a facility like that?
In this facility, it would be 60 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Wheelock was next.
I think one thing we have to remember is when we talk about community corrections people and parolees, there is a difference. But in treatment, they're all mixed together.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether it's an ATS facility here in Traverse City or anywhere else. We have identified for years that we simply do not have enough beds and treatment facilities available. About a year and a half ago, I think we had a long discussion. Wexford County actually bought a house and contracted with ATS to operate it within their community because they simply could not find enough people. And like Sharice, we're trucking people to Mackinac City. We're trucking people to Sault Ste. Marie. We're trucking people to Alpena. And it just, isn't efficient in any form whatsoever. So then you start trying to figure out where you can house these people. Well, I'm probably reasonably sure that Commissioner Maxbauer is not going to let us be very happy if we use the house next door to her house. This is.
I sit on a corner and Dr. Hanley's not selling.
But the point is every time we talk about trying to site treatment facilities, it's just a huge fight, and we can't find them, and we know that we have a shortage of facilities. So, the possibility of utilizing this, when Sharice called me, and I apologize, she called me a month ago and talked about this a little bit, and I haven't thought to talk to you about it, but, we talked about the possibility, and I understand all of the safety concerns, and that is a discussion we absolutely have to have moving forward, and it's a commitment on ATS's responsibility also. I think, and it needs to be a safe facility for them to operate as well as, our situation next door. But I think the big thing is the severe shortage of facilities that we have available to us. And siting facilities is just such a pain. You don't have to go a block and a half from here and you can have a discussion about whether or not you can site a facility of any kind, in a community. So we already have a facility. There were 26 beds in there when we were using it as a work facility. I'm assuming that it's reduced because of the fact that, they're going to be there for longer periods of time. Because when it was a work facility, they were out 12 hours a day, I think, if I remember right. So there's probably the number of beds is reduced, but we have the facility. DOC has already licensed that facility for us for 30 years as a temporary fix, so they shouldn't be totally opposed to authorizing using this facility. I think there's discussion about the safety issue, number one, and number two, whether or not there's compensation due to the county for the use of the facility, and, that's, more discussion to be had.
I will mention that this is not a long-term solution. We all know that the facility is scheduled to be removed. This is just a short-term solution for right now. ATS has a lot of large goals for their whole entire business, and they're great plans that they have. But we're in Traverse City, location-wise, where they're going to be able to do all of these things takes time. And this is something that is a short-term fix, a year and a half to 2 years. It's not something that we plan on having there forever.
Our portable classroom was a short-term
Exactly.
facility as a work release facility too, so we have to remember that.
Anybody else? Yes.
You said the contract would be DOC with ATS, not Grand Traverse County?
No, sorry. The contract for paying for these individuals to be in the facility is through DOC. The contract would be between ATS and the county for utilizing the facility.
Is there implied cost to the county staff that would be obligated to something?
Dean has checked, Dean can address that.
Not, other than the direct involvement of our community corrections, I don't feel we would have any significant cost. I mean, if we're moving forward with this, I would need, our civil counsel to help me draft a lease agreement. But no, we would expect them to cover the utility costs, and I don't anticipate significant involvement other than with Sharice and her staff.
Which I already have involvement with them every day.
They're involved with every client now.
Yeah, every
And we
day.
know that at the very least, they could afford to pay us $48.50 per day per client in the facility?
Well, that's what they pay ATS, is the state per person per
Right.
day is $48.50. That has to pay for their counseling and their staff members, their food. They have to, while they're there, all of their meals have to be provided to them as well. So it's not a lot of money on any given scale.
The county's not going to recover any of that $48.50.
And then as far as the counseling and those types of services, where would those be?
They can be offered, there will be some that are offered right there in the facility, and then others that they are going to go over to ATS for the counseling into outpatient.
So there's not a whole lot of leverage as far as for rental costs for the use of the facility?
There's no leverage.
So this would be something we'd essentially be doing for free. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? What do you need from us right now? Just information, or?
Right now, I think that we can just, what do you call it, table it? I'm not a board member, so I don't know what you say, but table this, and I will meet with the sheriff department, and I will go over all the safety issues with them, with ATS, and we will also address the issues that the prosecutor brought up. But, yeah, and come back.
Cool. So this
We would
information-
like to, the goal of this is to start it as soon as possible after October 1st. And I know that that's probably not a start date, but that's when the Department of Corrections has approved their grant for this for the next fiscal year, is October 1st.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you so much, nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, then we're next, general fund trial balance, this looks like Dean.
Yes, I think we'll...
Teresa's going back on vacation. She's on vacation this week, so. Had to put her big girl pants on and come in here tonight.
Sometimes don't do that for board meetings.
Well, if you have your packet, we'll start with page 17. This is the 7th month of our fiscal year, and this is just your general fund, but that's the main operating fund of the county with the largest overall budget. On page 17, I've summarized the revenues to date with a comparison to the prior year. Just a couple of quick comments. A significant change in the tax revenue from as of 7/31/2015 versus a year ago, but it's just the timing of when the local units are making those payments to the county treasurer. And we do have those coming in. Our agreements with the local units are twice a month. Basically, the 15th, they collect, and then they remit to the county treasurer. But as of today, that $2.8 million number, I'm on page 17, we're at $5.3 million in tax revenue, and $2.3 million came in on August 4th. So no problem, it's just the timing of when the revenues are being remitted to the treasurer. The state grant revenue, a couple of things going on there. That's a significant change, but the liquor tax payment came in a month later, and then we're also receiving state revenue sharing payments this year, which we had not received in the previous year. And then the transfer in amount, that's a $1 million variance, but that is because in the transfer in amount, compared to a year ago, we no longer have the transfer from our tax, our revenue sharing reserve fund, because we are receiving the state revenue sharing payment. So everything is in line with the budget, but I did want to explain those variances. On the next page, page 18, the biggest difference in the numbers, you can see there's quite a significant increase in the expenditures through 7 months versus 7 months of the previous fiscal year. Most of that, though, or a good share of that, in addition to what's explained below, is we have one more payroll as of 7/31/15 versus, and that's $1 million right there. And then the other items, I've noted, some of them are timing differences. The biggest item would be in when we recorded the appropriations to the other funds. So again, everything is within budget, but there are, significant variances, all of which can be explained compared to the prior fiscal year or 7 months. So unless there are any questions, we can keep moving forward.
Okay, do we need a motion to accept that, or is that just information?
No, it's just information.
Okay.
That's all. I heard.
Okay, cool, all right. Then the next thing is budget adjustments.
I do have a few budget adjustments for you to approve on page 20. There are 3 here. First item is the Register of Deeds. We receive a credit, and we're budgeting that credit for the services that are provided to cover the related contract costs. Second item is the Community Development Program. I really don't know a lot about that program, but it was approved, and it's something that's handled or overseen by the Planning and Development Department.
This is a very positive thing.
And I was going to look into that agreement so I could offer a little bit better explanation, but I simply ran out of time this afternoon, so. And then the last item is budgeting some of the fund balance that the Senior Center has, as was approved by the Commission on Aging, and the Board of Commissioners actually approved these items earlier in the year, so I would ask for your approval on these budget amendments.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner McIntyre.
I would move for approval of the budget adjustments as presented.
Is there a second?
Support.
Okay, sir. Dr. Johnson. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There's no unfinished business. There's no new business. It's time for second public comment. Does anybody want to comment? Please don't be shy. All right. Commissioner committee reports. Yes.
I have one. We met with the business development team for county parks today, and we are working on our Civic Center master plan, business plan. And we had all kinds of ideas, but one of the ideas that our committee is going to present to the full Parks Board tomorrow night is a dog park at the Civic Center. So I kind of wanted to let you guys know that, because we're going to let it out publicly and just get people's ideas. We are. We're going to just let them go. So we're going to do that.
As long as this is a public meeting and I will not be at the Parks meeting.
You will not be at the Parks meeting.
I just think this is a bad idea. We've got enough going on at the Civic Center.
Well-
And we've got 13 parks. And so I just wanted to express that in a public meeting, not behind the scenes.
The reason where it came from is we are in the process of selecting a new site for a new playground to replace Kids Cove. And before Commissioner Max Bauer or any of us have the opportunity to meet with some funding partners, we need to have an idea of how big and where and that sort of thing. We met with Paul Johnson today from Facilities, and he gave us a lot of really good information about strategically where it should be and why and how it would work. And one of the other things we talked about is, as we put together the plan, which we will be presenting by December 31st of this year, we wanted to touch some low-hanging fruit, and we thought that good things that put out good energy and good juju in the community would be nice to compensate for some of the negative situations last year with the playground. And there is a big push for a east side dog park. We made one on the west side in Garfield Township. It has been in our Silver Lake Park for 1.5 years, and it has been nothing but positive for our park. We had 2 serious incidences with dog bites in the playground. Those ended. We had consistent problems with off-leash dogs. That ended. We had problems with joggers and the dogs, and the firefighters were tired of the dogs, and because we have a fire station in the park. And the park was very successful for us in creating something that brought such goodwill, but also limited our liability. So we're hoping that that may be the same kind of idea at the Civic Center. It would bring something positive for families there, bring more people in. The locations we're looking at, it would be near our new concessions and our skate park. It would increase traffic in our skate park area, which we have serious security problems in. And it would also help create a little bit of revenue with our concession stand, which we just sunk county money into to upgrade. So we're trying to get give and take from it. As we look for a new playground area, probably on the other side of the park, this dog park would balance it out. We're trying to increase people in some of the far corners that are having some security problems there. So just so you know, if you hear about it, that would be it. And I look forward to meeting with Congressman Gary Peters in place of Commissioner Max Bauer on Friday, where I will absolutely hawk the damn process to him and look for federal funding to help us. Along with, I will be meeting with Greg Bird tomorrow, and we will be seeking some federal funding help, hopefully, for our storm cleanup. So I will be discussing both of those issues with the congressman on Friday.
Yes.
In the dog park.
Commissioner.
I did attend a meeting with Senator Peters on Tuesday, and spoke to him in depth. There were several of us speaking to him about the river restoration and the dam removal. And it was extraordinarily, what we had to say was very well received by the senator, and I just wanted to, we're in there pitching.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, and on that note, I will be attending the IT on behalf of the Board of Commissioners tomorrow.
Good.
Obviously, everybody's welcome to join, but I did make a commitment to go there. So I will be there listening to their updates. They have a current updated funding timeline, and all of you received the packet that has it in it. So.
Okay, anybody else? Notices, announcements? Okay, then I think we need a motion to go in closed session. Oh, yes.
I will make the motion to go into closed session for the purposes of, to discuss strategy and negotiations regarding collective bargaining.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. Okay, I'm sorry.
Closed
That's the
session.
roll call. Thank you. Oh, sir, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Croupa,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Klaus,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Lathrop.
Yes. Okay, we're in closed session.
All right.
We won't be acting on anything coming out, I'm assuming. So
we will
if the
not.
public chooses to leave, they should be welcome to do that.
Of course, we're pretty entertaining, so I could see people wanting to stay.
As we race for the microphones.